What is the weirdest thing someone has told you in confidence? I met a mentally ill woman on a Greyhound bus once and she was convinced she was the vampire queen of Missouri. She showed me special crystals, she had that, proved it, and they were literally plastic jewels from Walmart. She was deadly serious and told me this after we'd sat together for 10+ hours and talked in depth. I still wonder what became of Jolie. Meth makes your life a movie. In an ex of mine's case, she was constantly being watched and manipulated by aliens. The CIA would employ the use of shadow people to ensure her compliance. I was obviously in on it with the aliens because I didn't think she should be driving a car, and the tarot cards told her that I was bad for her and that she needed to fuck her drug dealer. Odd how quickly 2 weeks can change your life, but that was definitely the end of my part in that fantasy. I occasionally wonder what happened to her, but I know better than to look. I guess that would be my dad telling me he should have paid someone to kill my mom when he had the chance to. The fuck? That's seriously messed up. Did she do anything bad? I wanna know the story. Messy breakup. My mom according to him was spoiled and selfish, he according to her was a bad father. He cheated, he would take me to his GF's house while he was supposed to look after me. I was the one who told my mom. They fought about every single thing and one day she took me and moved to the other side of the country. He said he'd leave his girlfriend and come to us, but he never came. I was raised without a father for more than 13 years and at the age of 18 we met up to talk. That's when he told me he believes he made no mistakes and that mom is the one to blame because he had no contact with me. He spoke with such anger about her and was screaming as we walked. That's when he said he should have killed her. Earlier on he said that he kissed another woman other than my mom, his wife, in front of me because he never wanted to hide anything from me or have any secrets between us. I was 4. Funny thing is that when I was 19 he had another child and the exact same story repeated with my little sister. She is 3 now and he barely ever sees her although they live in the same city. I had a neighbor who wanted to buy a wife. He wanted to get surgery to get taller, he went on dates with men, realized he wasn't gay, just lonely. He was on a 7-year dry spell, no sex, finally hits it and ghosts the girl because she was ugly. He ended 2 female friendships because they didn't ask him out. He got married for tax reasons and his wife left him for a Bernie bro. I don't know if I think he is toxic or sad or both. He also went to Yale and is a doctor. Not the weirdest, but this one freaked me out the most. This guy I bought weed from and hung out with, told me he had planned on murdering someone the upcoming Saturday, but now it was going to rain and that would interfere with his plans of disposing the body. Explained his motives, everything. I tried to talk him out of it and mentioned the police, and that's when he took out and opened a little box that he called his suicide kit and said the cops won't ever get him. This box had always just stood under the TV and I had never given it much thought. This was probably like a 30 to 40 minute conversation. This was 6 years ago and to my knowledge, he never murdered the guy. What was in the box, dude? Some pharmaceutical drugs, a syringe, some tubing. He told me he would take all the drugs and also hang himself in the corner of the room, where he could secure his belt to the bedposts. He said that by the time the cops would get in through his reinforced door, he would 100% be dead, because he's never going back to prison, was briefly in because of minor drug charges. This was his plan for any situation where the cops showed up, no matter the charge, it seemed. I sold cars. People told me all sorts. The one I remember is the guy that told me he was impotent. Why tell me? I had a guy that had eye cancer show me what was under his patch once as well. That was memorable. That they lost a tampon inside themselves weeks earlier and if I could help them look for it. That he put random objects from around his room up his ass when he was horny. A guy at work flat out told me he was a pedophile. He's a disgusting pervert and I hate him for the way he talks about adult women alone, but when he started saying disgusting things about very underage girls, that solidified my hatred for him. I've made it my mission to tell everyone at work he's a pedophile if he comes up in conversation and have told around 40 people by now. I wanted to ask the office not to work with him again, but I didn't because I want to secretly record him saying something disgusting. I've only worked with him a few times after but had my phone out with a recording app ready the entire time. My dad says shit sometimes and I wonder if he cares what people think about him. A few weeks ago he told me that there was a woman he dated when he was in his junior/senior years of high school and he was like legit Facebook stalking her. He said he would read all of her posts and comment on everything she posted or was tagged in or even just liked. He said he wanted to reconnect with her and see if the chemistry was still there and catch up with her. This fucking guy is married to a really lovely woman, my stepmother is top tier awesome, and he's over here trying to rekindle shit from 50 years ago. The story of how he ended up with my stepmother instead of my mother is eerily similar, but it infuriates me, so I'll just say this. After my parents split up and he was living with my stepmother, he told me one day that he was waiting for her to be single again so he could leave my mom and be with my stepmom. Like what in the actual fuck, Dad? I was in a park once sitting maybe 10 feet away from a stranger. He asked me what hour it is, and once I told him he used it as a way to start a small talk. I felt he was weird from the start, then word after word. I don't know how we reached the point of him telling me that there is no difference between swallowing your saliva directly, or spitting it out and then allowing it again, and that he sometimes spit on his food just to prove this theory. At that point the only thing that came to my mind is to stand and goo. My buddy told me he really fucked up his neck trying to suck his dick. I asked if he was able to though. He was successful but had to go to the chiropractor. A co-worker said his friend liked getting pegged. He was sharing without me even asking. I think it was him that liked getting pegged. Not kink shaming, but I didn't even ask. I hate when they do that. Used to have a friend who was in a polyamorous relationship and she would always go on and on about it. We met at a burger joint once and she was just shouting these intimate things as if we were the only people there. I didn't ask, I don't want to hear it, and I certainly don't want these mental images in my head. I once had a friend, we can call him Chowder. Chowder just so happened to enjoy busting nut onto his own belly to feel the warmth. If this wasn't gross enough for you, Chowder would then follow up by rubbing it into his belly hair to let it dry overnight, and peel off the flakes the next morning. Chowder is gross. Chowder also stole my lightsaber, so he's gross inside as well. Lil crusty bitch. I started a new job and the lady at the desk next to me was this nice, older Christian lady, and she just sort of told me out of the blue that she had had surgery on her labia to look better because it was ugly. I didn't really know how to respond to that. I was like 18 and we were partying on drugs, and this girl, which was like the same age, told me she has been pregnant and made the baby go away with heavy meth consume. I was on this queue one day, and the guy behind me suddenly whispered that he'll rape me. I was so damn scared I just ran off. Had two thoughts to whether call the police or not, but I was too scared go back and see the guy myself, for description and such. Nothing happened to me after that, thankfully. A friend told me that he wanted to try anal with his GF, but she said if he wanted to put something in her, but then she gets to put something in his ass first, so my guy handed her a Sharpie. This one woman said it wasn't worth it and she wouldn't recommend doing it cosmetically, but it was significantly easier for her to suck dick since she had lost all her top teeth. A guy told me and that woman that he didn't use lube for anal. He and I were both gay, and she was bi, he just used his own saliva. She and I just looked dumbstruck until I said, "How much saliva do you make?" He then spit on the ground for us, and was surprised to learn that that was not a normal amount. I was homeless living in my car for a couple years in Oregon, and I was parked one night at a grocery store and I was smoking a joint relaxing. It was around midnight or so, and some passerby smelled the smoke and approached. They asked me if they could smoke a little bit and I said sure. Long story short, he rambling on about this and that, and we get to talking about why I'm living in my car and why he is also homeless. He ends up telling me he had been on the run from the cops going on 2 years because he had killed someone up in Washington. My neighbor's third child was born with all kinds of health issues. I was trying to help out as much as I could. We were in the baby's room one day and she was looking at the baby. She seemed far off and said in a flat tone, "Sometimes I think about just letting her die. Even unplugging everything and just being done. I wish she would have died at birth." It really chilled me and I spent the day and night with the child, worried mom might actually do it. The baby ended up passing at a year old. It was brutal to watch everything they went through. Once a girl confessed to me she had recently gone home so drunk that she ate an entire bodega sandwich with the wrapper still on. She was constipated for like 3 days and then pooped the wrapper out. I got beat up while in college. Spent 2 days in the hospital and left against the doctor's advice. I could walk a little bit but had to rest, or crawl. I crawled around to get to classes. If I sneezed, or coughed, I would white out due to the pain. They gave me pain pills, but they scarier me because they worked so well. I'm not Superman, I knew this is how people became addicts. Still, I could sleep with the pills. You cough while you sleep, or your lungs fill with fluid. I tried to sleep sitting up, with my arms above my head so I could breathe, but I just couldn't sleep. So I took 2 pills, and I was out like a light. Problem was I was dead out, I almost couldn't wake up. I was afraid to sleep alone, I case a fire. Crazy, but I worried about it. I slept in room that used to be a dorm kitchen, but after a fire it was made into lounge. No one used it, no TV, no windows. So I slept in chair in room alone. 4 or 5 hours a night for a month. After, I never thought of it. Years later, someone contacted me on Facebook. She said, years ago in the dorm people would do things to me while I slept. A group of her friends slept in the room with me, so no one would bother me. She showed me a picture of me sleeping. Some of the pictures showed some girls sleeping with me. They just leaned up against me while I slept. I never knew. The person asked if I was offended. They never did anything, just slept. She said she never got married, and I was the only person she ever slept with. I never knew. Military here. About 5 cases where someone told me they wanted to end their life. Each time me and that person ended up talking for hours. Made me realize about my own fight with that is you don't really want to do it, you just see no other way out of the situation you are currently in. Last person to tell me also mentioned they were pretty racist, and didn't know a person of color, myself, would even want to talk to them about such an issue. I still think of that person to this day hoping I changed their mindset and doing better with their struggle. I was in college working a summer break retail job. I was heading back to the break room when from behind me this, I'm going to guess 55-year-old, lady came out of the bathroom and in a freaking calmly sinister tone just said, "Everything is in its place." She wasn't even looking at me, I don't think she knew I was there, she wasn't an employee, she didn't have earbuds and this was before earpods, and there was no one else around. But she just shambled off back to the main store area. I never want to know. I had a man early in my career that I worked with off and on at another company show up unannounced and ask for a 1:1 meeting. Man promptly told me he thought I was one of the few people he could trust while dabbing at blood on his face where it looked like he had been punched. Followed with he was looking for help because his yet-to-be unborn baby was marked for sacrifice by satanic elements and his wife was going to go along with it on Valentine's Day in Bixby, Oklahoma. About that time the receptionist walked in with coffee for both of us, which was totally not a thing at this company. No one ever gave a fuck, and slipped me a note to excuse myself because the police were waiting outside. He had assaulted someone to get away to make it to our office and was in a police chase. Brave girl for coming in and pulling me out. We talked another very long 5 to 7 minutes and I told him the coffee upset my stomach. Feel like he was having a psychotic break of some sort, but also Bixby has had some really weird shit going on, and many years later I read a book written for teens about witches and satanic stuff called Jinx High, which was about the town of Jenks that abutted Bixby, and sometimes I wonder if I let Perry down. Thanks for watching this video. Please leave a like and subscribe.